I'm rocking with G-Sportz.
Preview.
Nicholls stay head coach Austin and Claunch joining me on the G-Sportz Zoom segment today. Appreciate you for joining me, Austin, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem, man. With everything that's going on, man, how has your days been since the virus all started? I know when it all hit you, I was about to make that run in the Southland tournament.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, y'all couldn't get that going and to see how things would have turned out. But since then to now, how's your days been going and how you been coping with it?
Yeah, obviously a really crazy ending, getting all the way not only to the tournament time, but on game day, and then obviously gets shut down. And, in terms of not doing a lot of stuff on the court, to be honest, this would have been our off-season time anyway, right until about a week or two ago, and so that part of it, hadn't been until about the last 10 days, 2 weeks. Now it's starting to get like, okay, it's time to get back out here. It's time to start working again. Because we had a long season, we had a good season, and at that time our season was almost coming to a close. Hopefully, win the tournament, go to the NCAA tournament, and then would have been time to focus on academics, making sure we get through with that. With this time, which is what we've been doing at this point, which of course has been harder with these guys at home. But now it's starting to get to that time where it's like, all right, we're ready to open these gyms back up and get back to work. So. Just trying to find ways to stay busy, watching a lot of film like me and you just talked about of our team, other teams, players, recruits. I love watching our guys. I like going back and, everybody talks about recruiting and it is really important. Recruiting is really, really important, but I tell people all the time the most important players are the ones on your team and, understanding how to get them better and understanding, the things that they did last year and how they can improve going into next year. And I really like the group that we have. And I'm excited about, kind of the prospects for next year.
Your first season, you won 14 games. You had a losing record. But your second season, you got 6 more wins. You had a 21-win season, which you just rarely see from a second-year head coach, especially in a conference like the Southland. I think people kind of devalue how good the Southland is and the type of players they got in that conference and the coaching. You are the youngest college basketball coach in the country, and in your second season you won 21 games. Also, you were second in the Southland Conference. You beat you went overtime with the Illinois team, y'all lost. Then you came right back and beat a Pittsburgh team who was in the ACC. You lost to LSU by 10. I've seen y'all play on quite a few occasions this year. What do you credit that to, from jumping from a losing season and then the very next season you get 21 wins and second at Southland, you beat a major D1, go toe-to-toe with some major D1s and some big-time conferences?
Well, first things first, G, and every coach is lying to you if they don't tell you it starts with players. That's the first thing. We had a pretty good team. I had a pretty good deck of cards to play with. And those guys too, man, we had a lot of talent. But like I said, man, they were a close-knit group. And they really came together. Man, we had a lot of talent. But like I said, man, they were a close-knit group. And they really came together. I think it started back in July for us with summer school, and we had a month to practice and all that. And, we had a team that really committed on the defensive end. We really turned people over. We were aggressive. And I knew we had enough talent to score offensively. We were going to find a way to score points, regardless of how we were going to do that. But I knew we had to guard. And I thought we had the potential to guard, long, athletic. We didn't rebound great early. We got better, took more pride in it. And so, I think it starts with that. We had a group of guys that were talented and then liked each other and understood like what we needed to do to win. And then, like I said, man, they were confident. Like even going into Illinois and Pitt, they weren't intimidated. They weren't scared. And part of that is because we've had guys that have played, at other levels, won games. We've had guys play in the NCAA tournament and this, that, and the other. And so, it was certainly fun to go to those environments. You mentioned it. Had Rhode Island on the ropes up there. And it was fun, man, to see these guys just kind of grow and have those games. And then it's funny, man, we get in a conference and we're down 20, our first conference game at home. we end up pulling it off. We go to Abilene, get our butts kicked, going into Christmas break. And, you know, it's basketball, man. You know, you do it long enough, like it'll find ways to humble you. And, you know, our guys needed that a little bit. I think we had to come back down to reality a little bit about the things that make us successful and the things that we do. And then moving into conference, I just thought, you know, after Christmas, we just had much better flow offensively, shared the ball. We really came into our own in that regard. Thought we guarded really well all season. And that's ultimately where it started. We were able to turn people over and get some easy baskets on the other end. That's kind of a decision I made last summer. I wanted that to be our focus. Turnovers. That was really the only game goal we have. Win the turnover battle by 6. And that's hard. It's hard to do. We ended up, you know, you mentioned, man, the Southland, since I've been in this league over the last – this is going to be my 5th year now. 2's an assistant, 2's the head. Man, it just keeps getting better and better.
Yes.
Like, it keeps getting better and better, man. The top of the league, like, man, Stephen F. Austin this year, how about the year they had? Like, incredible.
I mean, they beat Duke. I mean, you could just see that alone. Who goes in the Cameron Indoor and wins from the Southland Conference?
Beat Duke, beat a couple Sun Belt teams. You know, 28-3. That's incredible. I don't care who you're playing. Like, you know, and Abilene Christian, great year. Sam Houston State, always really good. All these other Lamar, Corpus, Northwestern State, unbelievable. You know, all these teams in our league, man, are they're gonna cause problems for you because of the talent they keep bringing in, the coaching, and the margin is so thin. The margin's so thin, man. The details of what we do, the scouting, and I think as our guys kind of started to see that, you know, they really bought into that part of it too. They liked each other. They knew we were good. When they saw how thin the margin was and how close, you know, how important those little details about 1 or 2 plays, 1 or 2 scouts, you know, 1 or 2 notes about a guy. Once they kind of realize, hey, that stuff's really important, and it could be the difference between, you know, 15-5 and, you know, 4 points can be the difference between 15-5 and 13-7.
Did you, before Richie actually decided like to take the job at South Alabama, did you feel like you were ready to be a head coach, or was it kind of just like all of a sudden like, maybe I am ready? I mean, how did that deal kind of go?
You know what's funny is, like, I went back. I'd have to go back and look, but you know, I'm always like, I love quotes. I love like just philosophy, like. And there's a quote I saw, I kind of made it up, but it was something I was thinking from like reading one day, and I tweeted, and this was like a month before, maybe a month and a half, and it was something. It was like, don't worry. It was like, don't worry about your destiny. Just be ready for your opportunity, or something like that. And it's like people get caught up on like when you want to, you know, I'm supposed to be a head coach or this. Like I've worked every single day since I was at George Mason. Like, what if I'm the head coach tomorrow? Like, what if I'm sitting there at George Mason?
So you always had that thought process.
Well, I've known I've always wanted to be a head coach. Like, and so I used to think at George Mason, man, if there's a fight and there's 10 technical fouls by these coaches, like I'm up. Like I'm 10 techs away, man. Like I'm ready to get going. Like, you know, so I think about it all the time. And, you know, it's funny too, because like, you know, I can remember Coach B coming down, you know, like I said, man, Coach Brownell is the funny. He's the best, man. And he'll come down and he walks the sideline like I do. And I do this, man. I do this. I'll do it to our guys. And he'd come down and kind of like kneel down next to me. And Coach Bowman, who was with me, who's now my assistant here, was with me at Clemson. We'd be sitting down there. And I can remember like him kind of like turn to me. I'm like a GA, man. That's like my second year. Right. He'd be like, what do you think, man? Like what do you see? And I'm like, man, I don't know. You made a couple $1 million, Coach. No, but it was like, you know, and that, you know, that's another thing I love about Coach Brownell, man. He like questions, like in the office, like he talks to everybody, question everybody.
He values a lot of his assistants' opinion. Managers,
players, like I'll do that. You see me because I'm pacing them down all the time, and I'll sit down too and ask one of our guys sitting out. You know, I'll be like, hey, man, what do you think? He'll say something. I'll be like, you know, what you're talking about, walk off or something, you know. But yeah, you know, and so it's like.
I have a real admiration for how you coach the game and how you approach it. And then just like how you interact with your players. I observed just the smallest detail that you probably wouldn't even imagine. And you can see why y'all have the success that y'all had this year. And I kind of want to talk about your coaching journey. I know you started off at George Mason with Coach Paul Hewitt. And I've been following Coach Paul Hewitt since he was at Georgia Tech. I remember when they made that run to the Final Four with Jared Jack. Jared Jack was like one of my favorite players that year when he played under Paul Hewitt at Georgia Tech. I mean, that's when Georgia Tech was Georgia Tech, right? And so, right, you had it rolling.
Pros,
and so you got the
pros, real pros.
Yes. And then, he goes to George Mason, and you get to kind of come up under him for a second.
Yeah.
And then you get a chance to go to Clemson and go under Coach. I always forget how to pronounce his last name.
Yeah, Coach Brownell.
Right, Brownell. And then I think that's where you and Richie kind of took it from there and went to Thibodeau to go coach at Nicholls State. Just talk about your coaching journey at those stops and what you learned and how it has turned you into the coach that you are today.
Yeah. I've been blessed to be around some really good basketball minds, man. Even growing up and working out when I was in college back in Houston with Coach John Lucas, who's a longtime NBA guy, and getting to pick his brain and work camps with him and things like that. And then, my college coach, a small school in Atlanta, Emory University, he was a Davidson guy. One of the best offensive minds, I've been around. And just to me, that's
obviously you left the school 8th in scoring.
Yeah, maybe that's why I like him so much, because I kind of just got to run around and shoot, pass, and have the ball all the time. No, he, when I was there, I always kind of wanted to do stuff with basketball when I grew up. But, I think when I was at Emory, that's when I really, thought, I want to coach, just because, the way he is, I'm a lot like him. I think him and Richie just probably, I wouldn't say it too much. I mean, everyone's been really influential in my journey, but, Coach Zimmerman is a big part. I talk to him every week, and a big part of who I am, even more as a person than more so than a coach. Had that opportunity to go to Coach Hewitt right out of college, which was a blessing. Coach Hewitt's one of the best people in the business, not just a great coach, but one of the best people I've ever met, man, salt of the earth. And just learned so much about relationships there. One of the best recruiters I've ever been around. I mean, like we just talked about, man, all those pros he had at Georgia Tech, you could make a damn all-star team with those guys.
They should have won it.
They should have won it. It's crazy. It's the year after they lost Bosch. They had Bosch the year before, and then went to the Final Four the year after they lost, and they should have won it because, they had beaten that UConn team earlier in the year.
Yep.
And then I went to Clemson for 3 years with Coach Brownell. Again, not only have I got to be around great coaches, but just great people, man. Coach B is one of the best people you're ever going to meet. Call and check up on you. Intense. And man, the thing I take most from him, I tell everybody, just how he studies the game. He always finds something to watch, and it's like, I can remember working for him and he'll ask you for something and it might take you 3 hours to make it, and then he'll watch it for 10 minutes. And then it's like, is that even necessary?
Right.
Yeah, and he is so meticulous about scouting and how he studies the game. And, I tell people all the time, he's about to coach in his, I think this is season 10 at Clemson. 10 years in the ACC, man, with everything going on in college basketball and as much change as they have.
Evolving door.
They have. Man, like it's incredible. And the hardest, and traditionally, maybe not this past year, but over the last decade, the best basketball conference in the country at a school when you're competing against Duke, Carolina, Virginia. I mean, all these schools, man, and the consistency he has shown, it's because of his work. He works harder than anybody, I've ever been around. And he grinds and his teams play like that. We guarded. When I was there, we were top 10 in the country every year in defense. And just, it was because of, scouting and just meetings with the players, night 4 games, meetings. And as a GA, as a 24-year-old GA, I'm kind of sitting there like, I've been here for an hour. It's 9:00 at night after the game. That's how you are. And but then you sit there. That was the coolest thing about Clemson, man, is I had a courtside seat to some of the best basketball in the country. And, I had little in-game responsibility, but I'm really just watching. I had to take, deflections or whatever, different stuff every year. But more than anything, man, I'm just watching the best players in the country. You know, I'm courtside for Jabari Parker, you know, Marcus Page. Like, I'm just watching these guys live. And
KJ McDaniels, man. You got to give KJ a little shout out.
You know, well, I mean, all those country guys, man. KJ, Jerron, I mean, all Dante.
He played for my squad, man. KJ played for my Rockets. Well, our Rockets,
man. I don't want to talk. We'll talk about the Rockets in a minute. But but KJ, man. So KJ, that was my first year. Was the year KJ was there. His final year, Flight 32, and we guarded, and we were so tough. KJ and those guys, man, like they were just like Coach B. And I can remember that we were sitting there against Duke. You know, it's funny, man, when you're not in that league, you're not, you know, it's Duke. So I can remember walking out for the game, and I'm like, well, it's Duke. And my sister went to Duke, so I've been to a Duke game, like, you know, whatever.
Okay.
But now I'm sitting here and like we're about to play against Duke, and you know, you're kind of just thinking to yourself, like, I think they were. I remember they were top 10. I don't remember what they were.
Shit, you're always top 10.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're down. We're down like 6.5. Little John, our gym is packed. You know, it's rocking. And then, you know, I can just remember they come out. Roddy Hood makes a 3. So we got tough 3 right in KJ's grill. So we go down 9. And I'm just like, okay, you know, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
But then, like, we like, you know, coach, man, just wills us. Like, we guard. We switch the way we're supposed to switch. We hedge, you know, we help, you know, and we just, you know, are the details of what he preaches all the time. Night for, like, that stuff comes out. And all of a sudden, like, we got the lead. And all of a sudden I look up at the under 4 media, and we're like up 9 with 3:30 left. And I'm kind of sitting here like, are we about to be Duke? Like, you know, like, and, but that was, you know, that was my first year, my first time kind of going through the ACC. And, you know, it just shows you when you're playing against you're playing against pros, like guys are going to be all-stars.
Definitely.
And we had some good players, but, you know, we weren't the most talented team in the league. And so, man, those details and the work that coach had us put in and the belief and just the understanding that, hey, you can guard these guys, you can score on these guys, but the details of what you do, passing with your outside hand, like you're pivoting, you know, like understanding what they're going to do defensively or offensively in your positioning, man, all that stuff, it makes, I mean, that year we won 10 games in the ACC, but, and it's crazy to think, man, that's hard to do. And it shows you why he's had the success he's had, you know, at Clemson. And so when I coach, you know, I try to coach the same way. I don't ever want our guys looking, you know, over their shoulder if they miss a shot or make a mistake. You know, you're going to come out because you're not competing or you got bad body language or something like that. But, you know, mistakes are going to happen. I do want our guards to have that freedom. I do want our guards to, you know, have that. You know, I think you watch our team, a lot of times it's whoever gets the rebound pushes it. I want our guys running. You know, I want our guys, you know, to me, I tell people all the time, I like to coach defense. It's kind of funny. Like, I like to coach defense. And then, like, offense to me should really be more about y'all. Now, it's my job to put y'all in some structure and, you know, obviously make us play better offense. But if it was up to me, I would just, you know, I got some guys that can do some stuff offensively I can't coach. So to me, and you know, and again, like it's all relative. Like I was a good player at my level. I didn't play Division I, but what you want as a coach is, you know, good offensive players with some structure, you know, and then to me, you coach them defensively, you give them a buy-in defensively. If you can get a group of talent to buy in defensively, they're going to figure out how to score with or without you.
You're going to be in every game. You're going to be in every game.
Right. First of all, full disclosure, I'm now second on the assist list. I did get passed, so I'd feel bad if I didn't say that. But
so you're second now.
So I got passed, man, a couple of years ago, man.
I'm not. Coach got some morals.
I'm bitter. I'm not gonna lie.
You gotta let integrity. All right. I respect that.
I'm bitter, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm bitter. You know. So no, but
who is your favorite NBA player of all time, and why?
Favorite NBA player of all time is Kobe, for sure. So Kobe's my favorite player of all time. Like as a point guard growing up, like I was a huge Tony Parker fan. So Tony Parker would be like my favorite point guard.
I can't believe you didn't say TJ Ford and you from Houston.
Bro, TJ was
that was my favorite player coming out.
TJ was why I wore TJ was why I wore 11 in AAU.
That's why I wore 11.
But then I couldn't wear 11 I changed because I couldn't wear 11 in college, so I wore 5 because he wore 5 at Willow Ridge.
Right.
So,
right. Is it true him and Daniel Ewing only lost 2 games in high school?
2.
That's crazy. That's
Dude, bro, they were a show, man. Like I'll never forget going. And like I'm 10 or 11, and he was a show, man.
He was incredible.
He was a show.
He was incredible. he was incredible.
So TJ's like my childhood idol.
Okay. All right. You got to throw that in there.
Right.
Who was your favorite college coach of all time? But you can't say any of the coaches that you coached up under.
Favorite college.
And why?
Oh man. You should have told me that before we started. I'd have been thinking about it. Like I said, my sister went to Duke, so it's kind of funny that I say this, but I always liked Roy Williams. And again, less about like when I talk about basketball guys, man, it's you can be good doing a lot of different things. You can be a good player doing a lot of different things, man. But I can remember as a kid watching Roy Williams and just like how hard he coached in terms of just his energy, and his passion. He was somebody that I always really liked to watch. I've always liked Jay Wright, his Villanova teams, and just kind of how clean they are and how they run their program. We played them 2 years ago when Richie's last year, we played them. That was the year they won the championship.
Right. It was really good that year.
Bro, it was unbelievable. It was the best college. And like I said, man, I've been in the ACC for 3 years. That was the best college team I've ever seen. They were a machine. And when I tell you, I tell people that was a gentleman's butt kick.
Man, Coach, I really appreciate you, taking the time off the schedule, man, to do this Zoom segment with you, man. I love coming to y'all games. Love seeing you coach. Love seeing you interact with your players. I know the future is very bright for that Nicholls State program and for your career. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. No,
let's do it, man. I really appreciate you having me. Hey, don't worry too much about our Rockets, man. We're gonna be all right. All right, we're getting through it right now. We're gonna hit our stride at the right time. Coronavirus came at the right time. We're sitting down. We're quarantining from each other. Russ and James getting close over Zoom right now, talking it out, getting it figured out. The playoffs come back, man. We're gonna be hitting. We're gonna be hitting.
Coach.
You gotta stay positive, baby. You gotta stay positive.
Coach, I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm really trying to be optimistic, but it's getting difficult.
But you can say what you want about James Harden, but and obviously people have criticisms about every player, but this guy has made the Rockets relevant, and we didn't used to be relevant. You can say what you want about they need this, they need that. They do if they're going to win a championship because obviously it looks like. But man, they've lost to the Warriors the last 2 years, man. It's people want I don't know, man. I'm happy with the direction the Rockets are going, man. We just gotta keep getting better, man. See, Rockets fans y'all are spoiled, man. See, y'all, come on, man. We ain't been winning. We can't just win the chip. It's gonna come.
This is what I'm saying. Everybody in their right mind knows you cannot win a championship playing that way.
I know, but
that's the problem. And look, I love seeing him. I love watching James Harden score 40 and do between the legs stuff. I love it, but it doesn't translate to beating the really good teams in a 7-game series. Now, this is a 1-game tournament.
Hey, they almost did it now.
Right. If Chris Paul don't mess his hamstring up, they probably win that series. But that series was different. Chris Paul played out his mind.
He did.
So James Harden didn't have to really go one-on-one as much. Yeah, Harden, Chris Paul, I think that was one of his best seasons of his career, even when he was in New Orleans.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I think that played a big part into it. But I just think going forward, if they can't at least scratch the surface of trying to get to the finals, you got to bring it all up.
Break it all up?
Yeah, you got to bring it all up. You got to bring it all up.
And the other thing, man, I know you're excited about your Saints, but this is the Cowboys' year this year, G. This is the Cowboys' year. You heard it here first. You heard it here first on G's show on April 30th, 2020.
It ain't gonna happen, y'all. You got too much tension between the management and the quarterback. That's who, if your quarterback's not happy, your team's not gonna be happy. So
we're gonna come around, baby. We got a long time for opening day. You're gonna come around. They're gonna get right, baby. They're gonna get right. Rockets fan and Cowboys fan, man. It's hard for me out here.
I'm rocking with G-Sportz.